he gonna get caught. He'll pop out on you. He get there too quick.
That is, if I'm not mistaken, a 92-pound weight difference. Almost a 100-pound weight difference. It's insane. Let's say he comes in at 200 pounds. It's still a 65-pound weight advantage, which is absolutely ridiculous. How can you be out there claiming to want to fight the best people on the planet?
A number of seasoned boxing observers have advised Jake Paul against taking on Gervonta Tank Davis, particularly in light of recent training videos that demonstrated Davis's relentless power and lightning-fast speed. Experts caution that a battle with such a significant size disparity might be physically dangerous and harm boxing's reputation. They contend that Paul ought to consider Davis as a real explosive combatant and not only a boxer who became content creator. According to critics, Davis's recent training videos show that he is not only quick and nimble but also technically proficient and able to trap opponents, which poses a serious risk if Paul becomes complacent.
Quite surprised because it sounded like Jake Paul and Joshua was getting closer and closer for January. However, there have been rumours of Gervonta Davis versus Jake Paul in the past. I think with Gervonta Davis's kind of legal problems in the last month or so and rumours about his retirement, I don't think it's a massive shock that he is taking this Jake Paul fight if it is going to go ahead, purely for the reason that it's a lot of money for maybe not the most difficult job that he's going to have in his career. So it's a strange one, but yeah, it's just another kind of day in the sport, really, isn't it? Yeah.
Paul has received stern warnings from promoter Eddie Hearn about the risks involved with facing Davis. Hearn cautioned Paul that there might be severe, even disastrous, repercussions. Use caution when making wishes. Hearn believes the fight is inappropriate, which makes Paul's safety a concern. He gives the fight a 50-50 chance, but his underlying message is obvious despite the match's enormous commercial appeal. Paul is risking far more than just his record in this battle. Hearn believes that his health is in risk.
I think it's extremely dangerous for Jake Paul. You know, I've got the general feedback is the boxing world saying, please AJ, go in and evaporate this young man from the boxing world so he can all get on as normal. You've got Jake Paul fans thinking bizarrely they can beat Anthony Joshua. And the most bizarre thing out of everything is that Jake Paul genuinely believes he will beat Anthony Joshua. I think that's the only reason we're going to see this fight, but I truly believe you're going to see it at the beginning of 2026.
Daniel Cormier has responded to Jake Paul's choice to face Davis in a cool-headed but critical manner. In recognition of Paul's skill in promotion and his increasing credibility, he remarked, "I respect Jake Paul today," and complimenting him on how he has positioned himself such that Netflix frequently collaborates with him. DC was unable to overlook the obvious size disparity. While highlighting Davis's superiority as a boxer, Cormier also stressed the significant weight disparity. In his most recent fight, Davis weighed about 133.88 pounds, whereas Paul weighed close to 200 pounds. He cautioned that Paul's momentum might be totally derailed if Davis prevails. However, the same is true for Davis, who faces significant humiliation when facing someone so much larger.
When the disruptor challenge is a legend, guys, anything can happen. When a kid that was on YouTube and on Disney walked there and said, I'm going to be a professional boxer, Jake Paul needs to be commended for that. He had a vision, and he honestly executed that vision better than anyone ever could have expected. But sometimes you want something so badly that you don't recognize the dangers that come with wanting that thing and then getting that thing. Now Jake Paul has gotten himself to a point where he's fighting someone that could truly, truly end his career. Mike Tyson. We're talking about one of the scariest, most dangerous fighters to ever step foot in the squared circle. For me, it's pretty simple. Jake Paul, in the Mike Perry fight, he got a great appetizer for what he will get in the main event. A fighter that starts very fast, that throws things to take your head off, and you have to kind of match the intensity to ultimately get your shots off.
Jake Paul today announced that he has signed with the PFL.
The PFL.
A couple weeks ago, Jake Paul and I were messaging each other about an appearance on my show, DC and Arson. Just kind of talking about his future. And honestly, Jake and I have had some run-ins. When I started talking to him and I'm messaging him, he's a kid that's very respectful. And we had respectful conversations. He has an idea what he wants to do. Now, these kids today are different, right? So he's very boisterous, he's very verbal, he speaks big. But will Jake Paul actually fight in the PFL? A lot of boxers say they're going to fight, but they never actually do. Here's the thing about Jake Paul, though. He's from Ohio. Ohio has some of the best high school wrestlers. Jake Paul was a high school wrestler there. So was his brother Logan. They weren't bad. I believe this will actually fight.
Ryan Garcia blasted the contest, calling it utterly crazy and casting doubt on its validity. He made the case that contemporary boxing is becoming less respectable and likened it to professional wrestling, claiming that it now more closely resembles WWE than a legitimate sport. Garcia claims that these bouts undermine boxing's reputation and make it more difficult for followers to take the sport seriously. According to him, the WWE is actually boxing.
My name was mentioned at his press conference and he shit himself, and the fight was just absolutely fucking diabolical. Again, I've said before, he's not a professional boxer, he never will be. He proves time and time again that he's not a professional fighter, so Jake Paul, piss off.
I mean, I don't really take Jake Paul that serious. He can't really box. He can have a little fight, he can have a swing. Swings away, stands up straight, and he throws punches, but it's not professional boxing. Because when I watch him box, he's just so much wrong. It's just everything's wrong. It's so bad. He's got leaky defence. He telegraphs his punches. Like, you put him in with someone his own size, it was a professional. It's a mismatch, and you'll see that if he ends up fighting somebody. Tommy Fury, bless him, he's a pro boxer, but he's inexperienced. He's got no amateur pedigree. He's a raw novice, or maybe just above the raw novice. We were saying earlier, where would I put him in terms of levels? He'd do well to win a British title. He's at that sort of level, and then from British title to world level, it's like different worlds, like totally different. It's like a different sport.
Kenya, and I found out that Gervonta Davis is now fighting Jake Paul. So Jake Paul was supposed to be fighting AJ. Eddie Hearn announced 99% done, which we just spoke about. What next for AJ? Potentially Jake Paul. But it now looks like that Jake Paul is fighting one of Anthony Joshua's legs. He's fighting Gervonta Davis, somebody who's a quarter of his size. I don't even know what's going on. Has Eddie Hearn been played? Let me know what you think, but the AJ fight with Jake Paul's finished. Gervonta Davis, fake Paul, November. I don't know what's going on in the world of boxing. This is an absolute joke. What next for AJ? We'll get into this, and there's so many questions I want to get into in the next episode, but hope you enjoyed this one. And yeah, I just thought I'd give you a quick update because the news has just come in, and I'm just trying to relax and play a bit of golf, and I can't. I've got to get it off my chest. I'm going to add it to this video. Hope you enjoy it. Don't forget, if you haven't already, hit like, share and subscribe to the best channel in the business, Frotch on Fighting, and we'll see you very soon.
The planned exhibition fight between Paul and Davis has drawn harsh criticism from Amir Khan, who calls it repulsive and warns of the significant safety hazards. He emphasized that the battle is dangerously mismatched and unlikely to be officially sanctioned due to the huge weight differential between Paul and Davis, who are about 200 pounds and 135 pounds, respectively, as well as the 8-inch height gap. He praised boxing promoter Turki Alshik for declining to take part in YouTube-style spectacles, warning that such competitions carry a major danger of harm and could damage boxing's reputation.
Today we're going to talk about the boxing world and another fight that Jake Paul just booked for his joke of a career against a 65-plus smaller guy than him in Gervonta Davis. Jake Paul is a circus sideshow for low IQ incels. Nobody should be falling for this carny bullshit about him being a real fighter. Gervonta is a million times better than him, so he has to handicap Gervonta's skill by being a giant lab rat with a 65-plus weight advantage over him. This is a joke. This is a mockery to the sport of fighting. You know, the best are supposed to fight the best. Why is he fighting a guy that's, you know, in his last fight, Mike Tyson, who, you know, he's got a 40-year age gap between them? You know, why are you fighting a guy that should be in line for, you know, the early bird special, not fighting in a boxing ring and Mike Tyson? Now you're fighting a guy who is, you know, tiny. He's a 130-pound fighter. You fight in the 210, 220 weight range. So, you know, this is another joke in Jake Paul's career. You know, he claims to want to be a real fighter, but You know, he's not taking the real steps to be real fighters and fighting, you know, top 10 guys and fighting the best guys in the world. You know, he fights, you know, these circus sideshows against guys that have no business being in there against him. So, you know, I guess this is the state of boxing. It's dead. UFC took over, and, you know, this is what you get now. You get this YouTuber that, you know, it's on Lizzie McGuire, and he wants to claim to be a real fighter, but he doesn't want to fight real fighters. So, you know, I think it's ironic, though. Why would he hire a lawyer to sue people that say that his fights are fixed if they weren't, allegedly? So I don't know. It's kind of weird. You guys do the math. Let me know what you think in the comments below.
When criticizing Paul, Michael Bisping wasn't holding back. He said, "That's what you call a bully," referring to Paul's significant physical difference from lighter competitors like Canelo Alvarez, which includes a 60-pound weight difference and a 7-inch height advantage. Paul's opponent selection was criticized by Bisping, who called it an embarrassment and accused him of picking smaller, less talented players to win. He questioned the veracity of Paul's assertions that he is a fierce combatant, claiming that Paul uses size difference and spectacle more than skill. According to Bisping, pretending to be a boxer while picking on opponents is just bully boy behavior.
On a guy who's obviously a lot heavier than him, but, you know, in an exhibition fight. What are your thoughts on this fight?
A really bad mismatch, and you know what? Whoever the promoter is and that's agreed Gervonta to fight, and whoever the promoter is to fight for Jake Paul to say fight this little man. I mean, that's wrong, man. I mean, that's just like torturing someone. I mean, going in there and hurting someone is just not fair on Davis. But like I say, you don't know what position Davis is in. I heard that he's been having a lot of legal problems and he's been arrested a couple of times for a couple of felonies and stuff I've seen with his ex-wife and stuff. So you know what? You don't know what's going through his head. Maybe he just wants to cash up and walk away from the sport. And maybe this is a great opportunity for him where he's seen this fight come up and he's like, fuck it, I'll take it. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I think they're making boxing a joke, really. One day someone's going to end up getting hurt so badly, then it's going to definitely destroy the sport.
Jake Paul has frequently come under fire from Bisping for picking opponents who are either smaller or less skilled, claiming that this gives him unfair advantages. Due in large part to the obvious weight and experience disparities, he has called several of Paul's matches dismal spectacles. Additionally, Bisping once said that Paul is more of a businessman than a boxer, implying that marketing rather than competition is the foundation of his success. Bisping claims that rather than seeking fair, tough fights that would truly test Paul's mettle in the ring, he chooses elderly legends or guys past their prime. Jake Paul's fight with Gervonta Davis has drawn harsh criticism from KSI, who called the bout a disgrace to boxing. He voiced his displeasure with Paul's opponent selection, implying that Paul is choosing simpler opponents over a fight with him, KSI. KSI's remarks reveal his persistent dissatisfaction with Paul's style of play and his wish for a fair duel between the two.
How can you be out there claiming to want to fight the best people on the planet and then going out there and taking on a guy that is maybe 92 pounds heavier, that is at least 65 pounds heavier than you? That is called one thing. That's called being a bully. It's like, dude, what are you doing? If you want respect from your peers, if you want everyone on the planet to look at you and take you seriously and give you credit as a boxer, you have to go up against someone that keeps you up at night, against someone that gets you out of bed in the morning to go for a run because the fear of them beating you down is real.
Thus, British heavyweight Dave Allen, also known as the White Rhino, claimed that exhibitions should only be for retired fighters and denounced the proposed Paul versus Davis bout as pointless and a waste of Davis's best years. He maintained that Paul should prove himself against a respectable cruiserweight rather than arrange spectacle fights, and that Davis, a pound-for-pound elite lightweight, ought to seek a rematch with Lamont Roach. Allen brashly declared that he wouldn't bother watching what he perceives to be a farce and accused both guys of being driven more by money than athletic ability.
They not filling the rematch clause and just fighting Jake Paul and that whole situation and reaction of the fight itself.
I feel people just, I don't know, people got issues because it's 200 million mandatory or either go fight for 5 million. It's a no-brainer. Like, what's normal? What's a no-brainer?
A hard fight. A hard fight.
And we prize fighters. They prize fighters.
Right.
The prize is big, and he's gonna retire soon. So you got 200 million right here, and you're about to retire soon, or either a $5 million.
Wait a minute. Kid said he disagreed. Why did you disagree?
I think it's just from a fighter standpoint. And on top of that, he got to draw. It's not like you won. Like you won and you gonna go fight Jake Paul. You got to draw, man. You gotta go get that back.
Why? It was a cherry pick.
I mean, yeah, it was a cherry pick, and you didn't
So
look
hold
good.
on.
So you got.
Some are referring to Gervonta Davis's choice to take on a far more prominent influencer as the greatest duck in boxing history and calling it a textbook in avoidance. Critics claim he avoided genuine competition by choosing a profitable show rather resolving unresolved business with a peer. The action seems more like a planned withdrawal from danger for publicity and financial gain than it does as a sporting challenge. Glamour over grittier rivalry is viewed as the ultimate dodge in boxing, where tradition frequently triumphs over money. Some are calling the bout a complete money grab, putting money before competitiveness and reducing boxing to simply entertainment. The enormous size disparity and hype, it feels less like a sport and more like a spectacle due to driven promotion. Many fear that it devalues the sport and puts players at risk for major injury in order to make money, underscoring how far boxing has deviated from its core principles.
I mean, look, with Jake, the guy's been ducking me or running away from me for so long, man. Like, he's just making excuse after excuse, and now he's fine. He wants to fight Tank. I mean, it just says the type of guy Jake Paul is. He only fights someone if he has a major advantage. Anything that's close, or anything that could actually be a decent fight, he runs away from it. So.
Boxing has veered too far from its foundations of fair competition and genuine skill, according to some critics, who contend that the sport is already extinct. They contend that the sport's heritage is being overshadowed by spectacle-driven tournaments, mismatched opponents, and celebrity-driven matchups. Critics claim that the emphasis has changed from showcasing elite fighters to entertainment value.
He's never been punched by a rhinoceros, has he yet? So we'll have to see.
He's training this fight, but fighting against real bears. This is true. People are going, no chance, no chance. Do you reckon this guy, could he be the toughest your opponents so far, do you reckon?
I don't think he's the best that I've faced. I've faced a few Olympic medalists, a few world title challengers, but I think he's probably the most dangerous. Maybe not the best boxer, he might not be the most technical, but he hits really hard, he's really big and strong, so yeah, I think it's the most dangerous task I've faced, but he may be not the best fighter I've been in.
Whereabouts is the fight, Dave? Where are you fighting?
He's still at Sheffield Arena, headlining in Sheffield, which is like my local arena. So yeah, it's a big night for me.
He won his last fight, didn't he, Dave, against Ricardo Brown, and 20 wins, 19 KOs he's got. And so like you says, he's dangerous. How's the training gone for you ahead of this fight?
Yeah, it's been good. He's put a bit of fear in me, to be honest. I have a bit of genuine fear. I've been stopped, but I've never been on the canvas ever as a pro or amateur, so, and I'd like to keep it that way, really. Yeah. I'm not on anyone's highlight reel. You see highlight reels of all the fighters I face, I'm not on any of them. And I'd like to keep it that way, so yeah, training has gone up a notch. For the Fisher rematch, I did weigh a little bit heavy, so for this one, if I cut any corners, there's a good chance I'll get beaten,